Hey everybody, it is me, Daniel, and we are back with a brand new big idea. Last month we learned about patience, and this month we are learning about peace. Guys, peace is proving you care more about each other than winning the argument, right? We want to argue, we want to try and get our way so many different times. Peace is choosing to care about the other person more so than being right. And I don't know about you, but I really struggle with this. And today is the perfect Sunday to learn about peace because it is Easter. And Easter is such an amazing day where we get to celebrate God and everything that He did for us. And today we're actually going to learn about peace through the story of God, okay? And so I know this probably doesn't look like it, but right here, I have laid out a map of the story that the Bible is telling through humanity, okay? And so at the very beginning, right, God created the sky and He created the mountains and He created the water and He created all of the animals, and then He created Adam and Eve, right? And Adam and Eve had one rule. They could live in paradise. They could live with everything they ever wanted or needed right at their fingertips, but they had one rule not to follow. It was not to eat from a specific tree, okay? And so Adam and Eve were living their life, and then they got tricked by a serpent, okay? And it says, you know what? If you eat from this tree, then you will know stuff like God knows things. And they wanted that, so they decided to take some of that fruit and eat it themselves. And when they did that, they disobeyed God's one rule, okay? And by doing that, they introduced this thing called sin into the world. Now, sin is when we do what we want instead of doing what God wants. And everybody sins now because of what Adam and Eve did. Now, God couldn't be around sin, and that made God really, really sad. And so Adam and Eve had to leave the garden. And so God wasn't happy with this at all. He wanted to be in community. He wanted to live with the people that He created, like you and me, you see, but God couldn't be around sin, so there was this separation, right? Let's say there was conflict. Conflict is like whenever you don't have peace, whenever you're like in an argument with someone. And because of sin, there was like conflict in between God and people. So God decided that He was going to figure out this rescue mission. And there's a ton of different people in the Bible that did amazing things. In fact, we're going to go through some of them and see if they could help restore peace to the world between God and humanity. Okay, you ready for it? Okay, let's put the first one up here. The first person is Abraham. Now, Abraham was picked by God to start a new nation of people called the Israelites. Okay, when God promised Abraham that he would be the father of nations, Abraham was really, really old, okay? And he thought, there's no way I'm going to be a father. I don't have any kids now. How am I going to be the father of nations? And you know what? He laughed. He went and told his wife Sarah, and they laughed. And guess what? God kept His promise. God always kept His promise to Abraham. And time after time after time, when the odds seemed too big, too great, when it was like, how are you going to do this? God followed through and kept His promise. Now, even though Abraham did some amazing things for God, he didn't do everything that God asked. He wasn't perfect, just like we're all not perfect. And so Abraham, guys, couldn't bring peace between humans and God, right? So we're going to go ahead and cross Abraham out. Sorry, Abraham. Man. All right. Now, later down the line, Abraham had kids, and those kids had kids, and those kids had kids, and those kids had kids, and there was a group of people called the Israelites, and they were actually in slavery in Egypt, okay? And now God picked one person named Moses, all right? And we're going to see what Moses did for humans. Let's put Moses right here. All right, so Moses did some incredible things for God. Like I said, the Israelites were enslaved in Egypt. That means they had to work all day, do hard work for no pay at all, and they were treated really, really bad by the Egyptians. And so God didn't want that for His people, right? So He picked Moses to go and to free the Israelites from Egypt. In fact, Moses is leading the Israelites out of Egypt, out of slavery, and Pharaoh changes his mind. He wants the Israelites back. And so God, through Moses, parts the Red Sea, and all of the Israelites were able to make it out of this dangerous situation because God was using Moses. And then the Israelites are wandering in the desert. Guess what God does? He sends bread called manna down from heaven so that they had full stomachs, that they could have enough to eat, so they didn't go hungry at all. God did some incredible things, and Moses was a really, really great servant. He actually talked to God face to face and came down with the 10 commandments. That's 10 rules that God wanted the Israelites to live by, okay? And guess what? Moses wasn't perfect. Moses sinned just like you and just like me and just like everyone who came before him. So Moses couldn't help bring peace in the relationship between humans and God. Sorry, Moses. He didn't make it happen. All right, so now we have Abraham, who did great things, Moses, who did great things, and neither of them could bring peace between God and humans. The next person we have up is David, okay? Let's put David right there. Now, David was a king, and now there were plenty of kings all over the time. God wanted to be the main king, but because of sin, he couldn't be. So he picked people to rule, and some of them were really good, and some of them were really, really bad. Now, David was one of the good ones. David helped defeat Goliath and helped free the Israelites from a group called the Philistines. He became king, and he did so many wonderful things. He was a man after God's own heart. They wanted the same things, but guys, guess what? Even David messed up. Even David did bad stuff, and you can read all about that in the Bible. David decided to put himself before God. And so even though David, like Abraham and Moses before him, did some incredible things for God and loved him with all of his heart, he wasn't perfect. David couldn't bring peace between humans and God. Sorry, David. You're out, buddy. All right, guys. Peace is one of those things between God and humans. It seems like there's a question mark after it. Is it ever going to happen? Now, there was a ton of time in between David and our next person, okay? There was a ton of time, and there was good things that happened, and there was bad things that happened, right? But eventually, a baby named Jesus was born, okay? Let's put Jesus right there. Now, Jesus was born as a baby, and he never, ever sinned, okay? And the reason we celebrate Easter is because Jesus died on a cross for you and for me. Now, Jesus was God's son. He came to earth to fix everything because after Abraham failed and Moses failed and David failed and so many other people failed, God decided to send his own son so that he could finally restore peace between humans and us. So for you and me, we don't have to wonder if we have a relationship with God, if we can trust God, right? Because Jesus died on the cross for you and for me. And when he did that, he kind of acted like a sponge, okay? All the bad stuff that you're ever going to do, all the bad stuff that I'm ever going to do, all the bad stuff that everyone everywhere is going to do, Jesus soaked it up like a sponge. He went and soaked up all of it. So when he died on the cross, he paid the penalty for everyone everywhere. So when we believe in him, we can have a relationship with God forever. And there can be peace between God and humans because of Jesus. Okay? Guys, I know that peace seems like one of those things where it's like really hard to have with your brothers or sisters that bully at school, your mom and dad sometimes, your cousins, your aunts, maybe even me. Maybe you feel that with me sometimes. But guys, because of Jesus, we can have peace with God. That is why our bottom line is this. God made peace with us. He saw that even though there were great humans who did amazing things and loved him so much, we're never going to be perfect. And so he decided to send his son. He decided to make peace so that we can have a relationship with him because he got tired of not having that closeness with you and with me. And you can have that relationship if you just believe in what Jesus did on the cross is enough to cover the sin, the bad things that you do and that I do. And then we can have a relationship with God forever. Isn't that amazing? Guys, thank you so much for listening to this. I hope you have an amazing Easter, and please never forget that God made peace with us. Thanks. I'll see you next time.